Hey guys, it's Steven from Kart Track Reviews here. Time to do a review on probably my favorite track to go to, OVRP, otherwise known as Oakland Valley Raceway Park. It's located in Cuddebackville, New York, probably about an hour and a half from New York City, and their options are nice, their track is nice, and everything is pretty nice there. So let's get into it. So for pricing, they only really do one price. In other words, you really only have the option to do 4 15-minute sessions with their carts. And for that cost, you're looking at $200. It takes about 4 hours in terms of the time span you're actually there. And that's because they do rotating groups, so they have like Mini Moto that goes on track, Shifter Karts has their own group, other amateur groups and stuff like that, and so they rotate it, and that's why you don't get 15 minutes so close to each other. You basically get one 15-minute session in an hour, a lot of times quicker though. So that's about an hour of total track time for a half a day, and if you do the math on that, that's about $50 a session. And if you compare it to like a regular rental place, you're really looking at, what is it, $25 a session in a regular rental place. And in a regular rental place, you're basically paying $25 for 7 minutes, which is about half of 15 minutes. So really, if you do the math, it's pretty much on par with any of these rental car locations. And those are rental cars. These are actually race carts, for lack of a better word. And the nice thing is, if you have your own cart, you can bring your own cart as well. Like I mentioned before, there are some shifter carts that go there and things like that, and there's races that happen there. It is an amateur race track for karting, and if you have your own cart, I believe it's $80 a day. So in reality, I mean, you save a ton of money, and you get to be there all day from open to close. Now the thing about the pricing is that you're paying the $200 over the 4 hours, but you're technically getting an intro course if it's your first time. What they do is they put you with an instructor so that they follow you around or they go in front of you, and basically they're just making sure that you're not either a terrible driver or you're not going to mess up their carts. It's definitely not a place you go to with the work family to find out if you're good drivers and, you know, drink before you drive and all these terrible things that people do. So for that, I give them a pricing score of 9. It is actually above average, and you're getting actual carts that are fun to drive. Not that rental carts don't have fun to drive carts, but these are 2-stroke and 4-stroke carts that you're able to rent here. Now, speaking of the carts, again, you have the 2-stroke option, which is a Rotax, and then you have the 4-stroke option, which is an LO206 engine. I've noticed that the LO206 engine cart is perfect for this track. You basically get at the end of the power band, at the end of the front straight, and it really just flows through the rest of the track. The Rotax cart, the 2-stroke, what a blast. I think I might have to get my own. I don't know. I don't really know much about racing actual carts, but the Rotax cart was such a blast. It is so fast. It is way fast for that track, and it's totally worth it. You have to try it. So because of the options and the fact that you get actual carts that are either have been used in racing or can be used in racing or anything like that, because of that, I give the carts a 9. There's just really no other way about it. I mean, it's so much fun to drive those carts. All right, for track. So the track itself, with all the variable turns, and the variety of turns, it's perfect. I wouldn't say perfect. It's a great track. There's a couple things that I don't like about it. I don't know if it needs a repave or something like that, but the condition of the track is not necessarily perfect. Now, to be fair, it is in the Northeast, so it does experience winters, and winters can be harsh on surfaces like that. So I don't know. I believe it needs a new repave, but I mean, I'm not a civil engineer, so I'm not sure, but it definitely seems like it. Another thing is that some spots are pretty tight, some spots are pretty wide. I would like to spectate a race there to get a better idea of how exactly it is for people that are actually racing for position, and see exactly how the track kind of interacts with that. It just seems a little too tight in some places. So it is a good track, but I just feel like in terms of racing for position, I feel like it'd be pretty tough. So because of those points, I give the track an 8. Again, I think it's a great track, but it's just not necessarily like a best top level track. Alright, so for customer service. Unfortunately, they're really hard to get in contact with, I've noticed. Whenever I call, it's very hard to actually get someone on the phone. Now, a lot of my phone calls did kind of take place later in the season, and perhaps after the race season, so maybe they're not as responsive during that period. But, it was very hard to kind of schedule the course and my interest in showing up and actually scheduling like an appointment, because you do need to schedule an appointment when you go there. You can't just really show up and just arrive and drive. It's not like an RPM Raceway or K1 Speed or any of these places. You can't just walk in and say, yeah, I want to drive a car. You have to do an appointment. And unfortunately, with these appointments, you really only have the availability of Thursday to Sunday. And that's when it's not a race weekend. If it is a race weekend, you are unlikely to get anything from Friday to Sunday. Thursdays, I believe, are still open. But Friday to Sundays on a race weekends, you can essentially assume that that's not going to happen. However, when they finally did get in contact with them, they were pretty helpful. They're great people. They're very nice to talk to. They're fun. Pretty much everyone there that works there drives a cart, so it's or a track car. So it's just it's a nice atmosphere to be around people that actually do it instead of just people that are kind of just working. So for customer service, I give them an 8. Now the typical question that I always have to answer and ask myself: would I go back? I think that based on the scoring that I gave it, I think it's pretty obvious. But the answer to that question is absolutely yes, because I think I've been there 3 or 4 times since I've heard about them, or since I learned about them and their rentals there. I really cannot complain in terms of like just the accessibility of a track that allows you to drive actual karts. I don't believe there's anything in the Northeast like that. The last place that I had the ability to do that was Dallas Karting Complex in Dallas, Texas. So if you're not for some reason going to Dallas, Texas, which mind you, it's kind of on the outskirts, and I don't even think it's technically in Dallas, but it's like in Dallas proper, whatever they call it. So to be able to have that in the Northeast is definitely something I think people should take advantage of. So to recap, pricing, a 9. You can't really do one session. They might be flexible if you ask, but typically you're paying for 4 and expect to be there for 4 hours. For karts, you're looking at a 9. I mean, you get to drive 2-stroke and 4-stroke karts. How could you really complain? I mean, unless the karts didn't work, right? But they work well. The track flow is an 8. I think it needs a repave, but again, not a civil engineer, so not 100% sure. A couple things that could be changed about the track, maybe a little bit wider in some spots, but with the room that they have, I don't see that happening exactly. And for customer service, an 8. So if they were a little bit more responsive, probably a 9, but we'll kind of see how next year pans out when I go back there, inevitably, again. And just one other point, I believe their season is from March to November, almost December. I'd probably say maybe mid-March to mid-November is probably a good span of their season, because it is an outdoor track. For a total of 34 out of 40. Now, off the top of my head, it does seem like that's probably one of the top scores for a track. So, you can't be too surprised that I wanted to go back. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything to add that I didn't say in the comments, let me know. And other people will see it. So I will catch you guys on the next one.